Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to play a mission from a previous edition using 9e lore and rules. If that's not to your liking, then thank you for tuning in, but it's now time for you to visit a death world. I hear Pythos is particularly dangerous this time of year. So let's take a look at the mission. We're going to play a mission from the 4th edition rulebook called Rescue. Hibernating deep within the heart of Shrine World, the Necrons have been dormant on the planet for more than 60 million standard years. The Necron tomb on Shrine World was constructed to accord to a complex template devised by the Necrontire at the height of their civilization, utilising physical principles and technology that have not been rediscovered by any other intelligent species since they began their long sleep. The Necrons on Shrine World created immense subterranean warehouses to store their race for the millions of years they would spend inactive. The faithful resisted Cardinal Urban's reign of sedition, torture and violence, until the arterial warp bleed spurted demonic energies known by them as the Purple Bleed. Harried by demonettes whose claws tore their victims to shreds, or allured the most devout into their clutches, the faithful retreated from the shrine capital. Using their mastery of advanced interdimensional geometry, the Necrons on Shrine World built massive chambers that could house tens of thousands of their kind in a space seemingly larger on the inside than without. Deep beneath these pyramidal structures, the Necrons stored their horrific weaponry and erected powerful temple stabilizers that would shield these warriors and their savage weapons from the ravages of time, much like a stasis field. Stories of ancient pylons delaying the destruction of the fortress world of Cadia had spread as far as the Great Rift itself. Abbess Bridget led her convent from the shrine capital towards the Blackstone pylons, situated within the ruins of an ancient civilization. Her belief that most stories contained some degree of truth paid off, but she thanked the Emperor's divine providence for her conviction. The pylons provided sanctuary from the demonic attack.
Why did you desert your post?
The resistance to Cardinal Urban's reign of terror was working until the Great Rift came. Demonettes from warp overwhelmed our positions. We had no choice but take refuge by pylons.
Pylons? Alien technology? Traitor!
Pylons worked in ways our weapons couldn't. The demons were visibly weaker. Eventually, but not before murdering many of my sisters with claw and jaw, did they stop their mindless attack.
Reactivated, the tomb on Shrine World awakened its sleepers in a rigid and predictable algorithmic sequence that is as inevitable as the dying of the stars. First, the tomb released swarms of robotic canoptic scarabs to attend to the rudimentary needs of the stasis tombs. Abbess Bridget and her convent faced swarms of robotic scarabs, who at first ignored them until the automated systems deemed them a threat to the tomb. While the scarab swarms had no direct weapons, their claws were sufficiently sharp to slice through the armour of her sisters. While the tomb's automated systems assessed the current circumstances, canoptic wraiths, serving as the tomb's eyes and ears, were commanded to kill the intruders. It was only when a rescue party arrived were Necron warriors awakened to repel the intruders from their resting place. The Daughters of Charity rescue party will be split into 3 groups: the Holy Trinity of Bolter, Flamer and Melter. Each force contains a rhino to evacuate the faithful. It would take 1 game turn for the faithful to embark each rhino. The rhinos have space for 10 survivors. The rhinos must be within 3 inches of each evacuation point to do so. An evacuation action starts at the end of their movement phase. The rhinos with their evacuees must exit the table via 1 of 3 exit points. A successful evacuation will be when a rhino carrying the faithful leaves the table. The Necrons, following a clear algorithmic sequence, will deploy as follows. Turn 1, Scarabs. Turn 2, Wraiths. Turn 3, Doomstalkers. Turn 4, Warriors. And turn 5, to chase the sisters, I hope, Tombblades. The automated systems of the tomb will determine the number of each unit summoned by rolling a d8. The automated system will deploy each unit randomly using one of 8 gateways on the table by rolling a d8. As stated in the split narrative, the rescue party do not arrive until turn 2. That means the faithful must survive a turn of Scarabs and Wraiths before they are rescued. Gateway 1 and Gateway 2. Gateway 3. Gateway 4 and Gateway 5. Gateway 6. Gateway 7. Gateway 8. As you can see, the faithful are huddled around the pylons in desperation. They hope these ancient constructs of alien origin will save them from their demonic pursuers. There are 40 survivors from the shrine capital randomly positioned around 4 pylons. All they have to defend themselves is what they carry, and if they are carrying a holy relic, saved from the taint of chaos, they have a pistol. So turn 1 for the Necrons. Let's see how many Scarab units are available to them as this tomb awakes from its deep, unnatural slumber. There's 8 units available. 8 swarms of Scarabs have emerged from the awakening tomb. They are going to appear randomly on the table using the 8 gateways which I showed you earlier in the video. I'm now going to roll randomly to see where they deploy. I'll do the first one live and then I'll come back to you to show exactly where they are. Doesn't look very good for our faithful having 8 swarms appear. Let's see how many survive before the rescuers arrive to save them. So let's move this down. That's my D8 from before. So that's going through gateway 8, which I know if I pan over slowly, and you can see is that gateway just there. So I'll put that squad out for you to see. Swarm. So they've emerged. There we are. Gateway 6. Just rolled a 2 for the gateway, which is right just there. These poor faithful. Let's see how many survive. As I've already explained to you, whatever they are carrying, they are using. I'm just going to look at the rules. If they're carrying a relic, well, the relic's heavy, so they're only going to be shooting a pistol. Let's see what happens next when I roll the next gateway. There we are. Gateway 5. Gateway 2. Already the mind of this tomb world is communicating, telling these swarms to congregate and attack this first squad of faithful around this pylon. There you are. Gateway 7. Gateway 7 again. Like from Gateway 2, it appears this tomb world wants to trap the faithful from both sides, as we have 2 swarms of scarabs here and 2 swarms of scarabs on the other side. So far, the middle only has to contend with 1 swarm of scarabs. Over here, we have 1. And there's the 2 from gate 2. That's completely pulling. So this is our final squad. 8. So again, the mind, the automated mind of this tomb world is thinking very logically. The swarms are congregating together, and there are 3 major points of attack. Let me show you. Gateway 2, Gateway 8, which I'm just about going to add, final swarm 2. And Gateway 7. You've just seen. So it's Necron turn 1. I'll be back after movement. Following the directive of the tomb world, the skimming swarms of the scarabs have approached every unit of the faithful, who, remember, came to these ancient ruins in the belief that they would give them refuge against the Slanesh demons. Following the logic of this tomb world, the 2 units of scarabs who entered the play from separate gateways are slowly but surely getting closer together so that they can charge this unit here. But every unit of faithful is in charge range of the scarabs. Now they might only be scarabs, but this is the start of the reactivation. We have wraiths next. So, exciting times. Let's see what happens when they charge. The scarabs from Gateway 2, both units are going to charge. I know their charge is inevitable, but I'm still going to roll the dice. Let's see. So a 7-inch charge. The first unit, that gets them into combat, like so. Second unit, yep, a 9-inch charge. Well, so they are certainly going to be in. We are going to be doing Overwatch for each of the Faithful because this is a narrative battle. And let's face it, they're going to need it. So as you can see, if I just zoom in, the majority of the unit have pistols, but there is a trusty flamer there. So let's see what damage that flamer can do to these oncoming mechanical swarm. So the novitiate flamer, let's see what happens against one of these units of scarabs. One shot. Clearly the flamer, as you can see, the novitiate carrying the flamer, was startled by the reactivation of this tomb world, and as a result only managed to press the trigger lightly in panic. So strength 4, toughness 3. Let's see if she wounds. Yes, certainly does wound. There's no AP, so can this scarab make a 6-up save? Let's see. Yes, it does. Flamer's a strength 5. Yes, it certainly does make that save. So that scarab clearly didn't feel those flames at all. They just brushed the surface of its metallic hide. So let's move on to the auto pistols. With the flamer failing to do any damage, it's now up to the auto pistols to hit these scarabs before they fly in their faces, a bit like Aliens. Always a scary scene. Right, let's see what happens. These 6s. So 1 6, we get 1 hit. We need a 4 to wound. It does wound. We need a 6 save. Doesn't save. So one of the scarabs has taken 1 damage. Okay, like so you can see. Let's move on to the next squad. So the first unit from Gateway 8. Let's see if they get it. They do with a resounding 10, which I'll move in a moment. And the squad behind. The swarm behind, sorry, if you want to be technical. Yeah, they're in with a 7 too. So if I just put that over there, swing round, you will get an opportunity to see me move them in. Obviously I've got to do Overwatch as well. Every unit will be doing Overwatch. It's the only way these faithful are going to survive. Like so. Okay. Let's see what happens with the Overwatch. To represent the faithful running towards the pylons in haste, there's no logical order to the unit composition. Some have a greater number than others, up to 10. That's to represent the demonettes killing those who didn't make it to the pylons. The faithful, these novitiates, stood at the first pylon they got to. So that's why each unit is armed very differently. Some are carrying relics, some are carrying weapons which you would only see on character models from the Sisters of Battle. But I think that's fine. I can just imagine them picking up what was ever in front of them, including any holy relics, and making their way towards the ruins while being pursued by the demons, which you know from the narrative at the beginning was a rushed retreat. Let's see if this novitiate, Arm of a Flamer, is a little bit more composed than the last one. So D6, one shot, clearly not. Very surprised about what's happened. They were told that these pylons would give them sanctuary from the demons. They didn't know that this was actually a tomb world. Let's see then. One shot, strength 5, toughness 3. We're gonna need a 3. I wound. There's no AP, so let's see if the scarab makes a save. No, so the scarab takes a wound. Now I'm very, very excited because I haven't fired auto guns for a very long time. They are rapid fire, need 6s to hit. There's 3 of them. Let's see what happens. So we get 1 hit off. Strength 3. Toughness 3, and we need a 4. No wound. Then it's on to the auto pistols. This swarm of scarabs is going to charge into Abbess Bridget, who is standing right next to her in Magifier and Hospitalia. Let's see if they make the charge. Let's see if the swarm gets in. With a 9-inch charge, that certainly is going to happen. So she's firing her plasma pistol. She is going to supercharge it. So let's see what happens. Oh, she takes a wound. As you can see, Abbess Bridget has taken a wound from the overheated plasma pistol. I could have re-rolled, but that's not thematic. Perhaps that roll is telling her something, that this decision to use the pylons as sanctuary was a wrong one, and one which the Emperor doesn't like. Full of foreboding, Abbess Bridget regrets her decision to retreat from Shrine Capital with her followers. It would have been better to die for her God Emperor.
It did not sit well with any of us that we were saved by alien technology rather than our faith in the Emperor of mankind. Sometimes there is absolutely no difference at all between salvation and damnation.
So let's see if the Hospitaller can give that wound back to Abbess Bridget before the start of combat. She does. Abbess Bridget is at full health. But doubts remain in her mind about her course of action. So these scarabs are going to charge into this unit of novitiates, the faithful. Again, we're going to do some overwatch, see if we can take any down. This is not looking good at the moment. And then on the edge of the battlefield, in the last quarter, we have these 2 units. We're going to charge into these novitiates here. Let's see if the scarabs make it into combat. They do with a 7. So we have a novitiate with a flamer. Now we know how that's gone the last couple of times. Let's see what happens. Let's see how many shots she manages to fire. 3. So 3 presses of the trigger. So strength 5, toughness 3, need 3. Wounds with 1. Let's see if she does any damage. She does. Fails to save, so it is a wound. Again, I've got some auto pistols, auto guns. So let's do those next. 3 auto guns, rapid firing, need 6s. Nothing hits, but it was exciting to roll them nevertheless. So let's do the auto pistols. 3 auto pistols. 2 hits. Need 4s to wound. 1 wound. 6 up. So that unit has taken 2 wounds. One of the scarabs has taken 2 wounds. Does the first unit get into combat? It certainly does with 11, but that's what the second unit, the second swarm needs really. They get 2, so they stay where they are. Whew. If there could have been a dice roll swap round, it would have been that one. The novitiates armed with flamers are getting slightly better, so let's see with this one. Oh, maybe not. Need 3s. Wounds with 1. 6 up. Takes a wound. Now we have the auto pistols. Auto pistol, sorry. And we'll do the auto gun. Hits. Needs a 4 to wound, doesn't wound. We've got 3 auto guns. Let's see what they do. 1 hits. Doesn't wound. Doesn't wound. So again, Overwatch has been very ineffective.
The greatest truth is born in the hour of despair, when the novitiates see no hope and no way out. Then their faith rises and brings them victory. They must fight on with religious fervour and hope the Emperor delivers them salvation.
So starting with Abbess Bridget, one of the scarabs is going to self-destruct. Let's see the effect. So it is 3 mortal wounds. She's taken 3 mortal wounds because I play Order of the Valious Heart. Should be able to negate some of those on 5 and 6s. Let's see. So she takes 2 mortal wounds. One of those scarabs is destroyed. Because of Tale of the Stoic, any attacks at strength 3 or less, you subtract 1 from the wound roll. So they would need 4s. So I'm subtracting 1. So strength 3, toughness 3. Let's see what happens. So that one would normally wound, but doesn't. That one doesn't wound. Certainly doesn't. So we've got 1 wound of 6. Okay. The AP is nothing. So I need a 3 up. Let's see if Abbess Bridget can do it. She does. She's fine for now. Again, it makes perfect sense in this battle for the scarabs to self-destruct each swarm. They want to repel these invaders. This is a narrative battle, so I'll be playing it again. Because narratively, that's what would happen. Let's see. It's D3 for 1 mortal wound. Let's see if I can shrug it. I do shrug it. That's 1 gone. Okay, as you can see, taking 1 away. So we've got two scarabs left. 8 attacks, needing 4s
to hit. Okay. Rolls of 6 automatically wound, so I don't need to roll those. These two do not wound. So a novitiate's armour save, looking at the white dwarf, is 4 up. Okay, there's no AP. So let's see. 1 dies, 1 saves. There we are. I'm going to take the flamer off for effect. As you can see, the self-destruction of that swarm did not really help there, but we'll move on to the next one. It's no brainer. Next unit is going to, one of the swarms is going to self-destruct. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's D3. It does 2. Let's see if I can shrug any of them. I don't, so I take 2. So I'm going to just pause it now before I do. Obviously, I think those not carrying relics would sacrifice themselves first for their order. So she is going to go, and she is going to go. Now I realise that only leaves this one with a pistol and this one with a mace or scepter. But I think narratively that would be the right thing to do. That these novitiates would sacrifice themselves first so that those relics remain in the Order's hands. Let's continue with this fight. Three hits. Three wounds. No AP. Let's see how many saves. Lose 2. So unfortunately I know I can choose who dies in the unit, but it does make so much more sense to take from here than here, narratively. So the Scarab self-destructs. Let's see the effect. So it's D3. That's 2 mortal wounds. Let's see if I can shrug any of those. But that could be 2 casualties. And it is. I'm going to take the 2 autoguns away from the first unit. Obviously one of the Scarabs has exploded. And let's resolve the rest of their attacks. The Scarabs have 8 attacks using their feeder mandibles. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there are 50% of the attacks have hit. They need 4s to wound. Strength 3, toughness 3. No wounds. So Swarm 4, let's see the effect. 6, so it's 3 mortal wounds. Managed to save one of them, so that's another 2 dead. Another 2 faithful die. One of those Scarabs explodes. Okay, so 8 feeder mandibles, remaining swarms. So only 2 hits, oh 3 hits, sorry, with 1 automatic wound. So we need 4s to wound, 2 wounds, 1 save. So that's a third one gone from that unit. As you can see, It's not looking good for the faithful at present. The scarabs have been very effective. I don't know about you, but I find it rather thematic that a swarm of scarabs would move as quickly as possible towards the enemy and on contact explode to save their tomb. Now, I realise they are mindless automatons. Regardless of that, it kind of shows the intent of this tomb world to exterminate all life that isn't Necron. So there are 2 more swarms to resolve combat with, and some of you might be thinking, why expend so many command points at the beginning of the game? Well, that's all about narrative. If these swarms of scarabs can remove the threat, then they've done their job. The Necron warriors can stay asleep in their tombs. The wraiths will not need to be summoned to finish the job. So let's get on with these final attacks on the scarabs. So we're going to do another self-destruct, but before we do that, you might notice these green lights. Well, they come from the LED lights here, which I'll show you later, which surround the table, just to add to the theme of the board. So let's see the effect. So it's D3, 2 mortal wounds. Can they shrug any of them? They shrug 1. So we need to remove a swarm of scarabs and 1 of the faithful. So we have 8 attacks with their feeder mandibles. Wow, so we've got 2 automatic wounds, another 2 to resolve. We need 4s on the dice. 1 of those, so that's 3 wounds. So we need 3 4-ups on the faithful. Another 3 dice, so that's 4 dead in that unit. I know this is still only the first turn, but it's becoming a bit of a massacre. I wonder whether I should rename the battle to that. Let's see what happens. So we have the final attacks from the last swarm to complete again. 1 of them is going to self-destruct. That means I've used 7 command points in the first turn. But when you get a chance to see the annihilation that the scarabs have caused, the calculations of this tomb world were correct to do so. Let's see the effect. Nothing this time. So if you hear any background voices, where I live it's a bit like the courtyard in Rear Window, the Alfred Hitchcock film. And because I play most of my games in my garage, you do tend to hear neighbours going, he's in his garage again, what's he doing? Well, guess what? I'm playing 40k. I'm having fun. I'm doing something that makes me feel good. And I just wish more men would do the same. Find a hobby and forget about work-life stress and just enjoy themselves for a couple of hours. So I hope my video is helping you in some way, like making them helps me. So as you can see, coming back to the game, sorry about that, we've got a swarm self-destructing. Unfortunately, it didn't explode on impact, so that is a bit of hope really for that final unit of faithful, because they're not going to be subjected to any mortal wounds. So let's resolve the remaining attacks from the feeder mandibles. Right, here goes. They're lovely neighbours, I may add. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see that one on screen. That's an automatic wound. We need 4s on the dice. So we've got 1 more wound, 2 to resolve. So this is looking good for that Skull of Faithful, because they're only going to lose a possible 2 novitiates. They lose 1. So the swarm that was already wounded from Overwatch failed to explode on impact, and we lose 1 faithful. So we're going to resolve this far unit of faithfuls attacks back. They will hope to remove both of those swarms, the remaining scarabs, so that they get a free turn of shooting at the next swarm which failed its charge. Let's see what happens. So the novitiates, using their melee weapons, gives them +1 strength, but they need to hit on 4s. So we have 1 hit. Strength 4. Toughness 3. We need a 3. And it wounds. There is no AP from their melee weapon. So a 6-up will save. And the scarabs continue to be a menace. So 3 of the faithful are going to try and claw off the scarabs. They need 4s. None of them hit. They're in excruciating pain trying to do so. The final faithful in that unit has a mace. And as I said before, when they escaped from the shrine capital, they picked up what was in front of them. This faithful did the same. So she's using a mace of the righteous, which gives her +2 strength, but she still needs a 4 to hit. So let's see what happens. She hits. So she's strength 5, toughness 3. She's going to need a 3. She wounds. The AP of the mace is -2, so it goes straight through. So one of those scarabs takes 2 damage. Next we have Abbess Bridget fighting back. Now some of you might be thinking, well, where's the miracle dice? They're standing by pylons. Pylons decrease the power of the warp, and because of that, there are no miracle dice when around these pylons. Now, why did I choose to do that? If you go back to the Fall of Cadia book, did a great description of Celestine feeling depowered by a pylon when fighting the Black Legion. I figured they would have the same impact on these sisters. She gets 4 attacks in 2s to hit. She fails with 1, but hits with the remaining 3. She's using a Blessed Blade, so it's +2 strength, so she needs 3s to wound. She wounds. The AP is too great for the scarabs. They cause 2 damage each, so that's a base. I mean, to prove how effective the scarabs have been so far, this is the first time I'm going to be doing a reanimation roll. So let's see. Now, unfortunately, that scarab stays dead. You've escaped Shrine World after the demonettes overwhelm your defensive positions. You see on the floor a penitent eviscerator. You look at your novitiate melee weapon and you say to yourself, I've got more chance of surviving with that weapon than my own. I can serve the Emperor better with that weapon. It's a no-brainer. Let's see what happens. So that novitiate has picked up that eviscerator. Oh, this is quite heavy. So it's going to be -1 to hit. Let's see if her faith enables her to strike the swarm in front of her. Well, that didn't work. Let's move on to the mace. Doesn't hit either. This novitiate did the same. Let's see if she is a little bit more successful with her penitent eviscerator than the first one. And then we have 3 attacks from their novitiate melee weapons. So the penitent eviscerator, does the novitiate's faith make that weapon lighter to carry? No, unfortunately not. The 3 novitiates with their melee weapons, we have 2 hits. It's +1 strength, so they need 3s to wound. We have 1 wound. 6 up. No, so that scarab takes a wound. So the second swarm of scarabs from Gateway 2 have consolidated into the remaining novitiates, but they have a morale check to make. They've lost 5 of their brethren, their sisterhood, that's a better word to use. And so let's see whether they remain on the board. Their sister superior, their novitiate superior, has already died trying to reach the pylons, sacrificing herself for her squad and the Emperor, of course. So I need +5, 1s and 2s, they are fine. So I'm going to roll this live on the board and let's see if you can see it. Yep, okay, so they fail, so 1 dies. There we are. Then I've got 3 more rolls to make. Let's see if any more go. 1 more. This unit of novitiates have lost 5 of their sisterhood, including their superior. So we're going to have to make a morale check for these. If it's anything like the last one, we're going to have some more casualties. So let's see if they fail. They don't. They stay firm. Fantastic. Let's see what happens to these novitiates. Will they show the same bravery as the last unit? Think about these pylons and the effect they have on the novitiates. Their connection to the Emperor is diminished because of their proximity to them. So let's see if they can draw on their own
determination, their own fortitude to say they're going to stand and deliver the Emperor's justice to these scarabs. They need a 1, 2 or 3 to fight on. And they do. Well done. There are, in total, 17 survivors from the reactivation of the tomb. It's not looking good for the faithful. Often, decisions made by commanders lead to massacre. And it looks like these novitiates are going to die a painful death before their rescuers can arrive to hopefully remove them from this dangerous predicament they find themselves in. Seeing the carnage around her, this priestess attempts to pray to the God Emperor, but receives no salvation. There seems little point in trying to move these novitiates across the board out of combat. They're going to fire their pistols and hope to remove a base or two of scarabs, but it's not looking good for them. And we still don't know how many units of wraiths will appear next. So at the end of the movement phase, the Hospitaller is going to attempt to heal Abbess Bridget. So let's see how many wounds the Abbess receives from the Hospitaller. So D3, so that's 3 wounds back, so she's back to full health. So we're going to go straight into shooting. We've got 2 pistols there. Now obviously they're not going to be able to remove this base. There's a possibility they can take another wound off it, or 2. Let's see what happens. So they need 3s to hit. 1 hit with its auto pistol, strength 3, toughness 3. They need a 4, doesn't wound. This unit here, who bravely passed their morale test, are going to shoot their pistols at the incoming swarms. So 4 pistols, need 3 to hit. None of them, clearly due to the density of the swarm, they're unable to take aim and kill any of the approaching scarabs. I'm just firing randomly at them. Abbess Bridget is going to fire her plasma pistol at this base and try to kill off that swarm of scarabs so that she can support her novitiates. Going to supercharge so that she can cause 2 damage. Let's see. So she needs a 2. She hits. She needs a 2 to wound. She wounds. That cannot be saved. So let's see if it reanimates. It doesn't. I love the ebb and flow of 40k from desperation to hope. And with the removal of that scarab base, so I'll just tap the camera there, Abbess Bridget will hope to redeem herself in the eyes of her novitiates and save some of them from her poor decision making. These 4 sisters are going to fire their pistols and see if they do any damage. If you heard that sound effect there, that wasn't a rhino coming to rescue these novitiates. It was my next door neighbour's car. So let's see if they can fire their auto pistols and cause any damage. So 2 hits. They need 4s to wound. No damage at all. Again, far too difficult in a swarm to take aim and fire meaningfully. I'm hoping this unit here will be a little bit more effective because there's more of them left. Let's see if they can wound these bases, because obviously they're going to have to withstand a round of combat first before they get to hit them. We've got 7 auto pistols, needing 3s to hit. That's 4 of them. Can't see that one there, but there we are. Sorry about that. Perhaps I should just pan out a little bit for you. There you go. And then we need 4s to wound. Let's see. We need 3 wounds. So this base has 3 6-ups and saves 1, but takes 2 damage. That's useful. That noise you can hear is not a penitent eviscerator. That's my next door neighbour's gardening tool, which is now abated. So I'm going to have Abbess Bridget charge one of these units. So Abbess Bridget, does she make it? With a 5, I think she will be okay. Let's go and have a look. I'll pan across and you can see me measure that live. I'll zoom in for you. Okay. 5 inches. Yeah, she's going to get easily within an inch. It's going to be needed. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to change my mind. The Imagifier is going to charge into the closest unit. Let's see what they get. Yeah, they got a 7, so they're in. So, the Hospitaller, she's going to attempt to, in fact, do this correctly. She could probably get in that gap, but we'll see what she gets. With a 7, I think that will be fine, but we'll measure it for the same. Yep, she's in. Let's kill these off. And then we have the Priest, which I'll just pan across to, clumsily with my tripod. Okay, let's see what that gets. A 9. So even though their proximity to the faith of the Emperor is diminished, their fight or flight survival instinct is still intact. They know they've got to clear these scarabs for any chance of survival. So I'm using a preacher first, as I said. Now my preacher is carrying a scribe's staff rather than a chainsword. So you get 3 attacks, dealing 4s to hit, it's +1 strength. So I get 2 hits. So strength 4, toughness 3,
I need freeze. 2 wounds. The AP is nothing, so 2 6s required. Unfortunately not, so that base is now reduced to 1 wound left. So we're going to do the priest first. Let's see what happens. The reason why she hit with a scribe staff is because I'm using the Agatha Dolan model as a preacher. I think it's very suitable. I quite like the name Dolan. There was a Joe Dolan singer. He's the Irish Elvis. Give him a try. So Abyss Bridget is going to try and finish off that scarab base. Maybe wound the other one. Let's see what happens. Needs 2s to hit with her Blessed Blade. She hits 3 times. I believe it is +2 to her strength, so she's hitting at strength 5. Again, my apologies for the penitent eviscerator noise that you can hear in the background. It's all a part of the sound effects of the battle report, including the parked bus from a street close by, which sounds, I suppose, a bit like a rhino. Sorry, novitiates, they're not here yet. Let's see if she wounds on 3s. So she wounds 3 times. The Blessed Blade is -3, so they go straight through, and they cause 2 damage each. So that is those 2 bases destroyed. So let's see if I can reanimate any of them. The first one had 2 wounds. Close. I'm going to use a reroll. And the next one, gone. So Abyss Budget was living with her decision and cleared these scarab bases. Now you might be thinking, why didn't I re-roll them? Well, narratively, I wanted that to be a moment where the novitiates and Abyss Budget took a small victory from the slaughter that they have witnessed so far. Clearly my next door neighbour has a jungle similar to that found on Catchertown, so bear with them. I don't hold out much hope for these 2 remaining novitiates. They were unable to cause any damage in shooting, and they're now facing 4 bases. This time the bases aren't going to explode. I thought that was more thematic on impact. So let's see what damage they can do. Will they kill off this unit? So 16 attacks. Let's see how many hit. I hope my neighbour doesn't unearth a Catachan Devil. That will be the end of them. So 2 automatic wounds, followed by 4 standard hits. Gonna have to roll the wounds on those, so they're going to need 4s for their feeder mandibles. 2 more, so that is 4 saves to make of 4 up for these sisters. Gonna need to at least make 3 of them to have 1 survivor. Afraid I don't, so let's move across and you'll see that those two sisters are now novitiates. In fact, the way they fought so bravely, I'm going to call them sisters, are now dead. That's a unit of faithful gone. The massacre continues. So we've got 2 units of scarabs there. I'm going to allocate 1 base each against the characters, and then the rest against that novitiate squad. You might be thinking this is very much a slaughter, but you know, this is what happens if you decide to take sanctuary in the ruins of a tomb world. And what do you expect? There's nothing fair about the 40k universe when playing narratively. I want the Imperium to suffer. And that's the basis of the game. I like tournament play, and I think all the endeavours to make it fair are wise. But when the game is based on a narrative, that's very difficult to do. Elves are always going to be better than certain armies. GC the cults are always going to struggle because narratively, that's how they've been designed. So let's play. I'm going to be quiet now. I'm sure that sounds a bit controversial, but that's my opinion. So, the priest has been hit by a swarm. That's an automatic wound and 1 hit. Strength 3. Toughness 4. No, toughness 3. We need 4s. That's 1 wound. The priest, I believe, has a t-shirt save or robe save of 6 up. So let's see what happens, and takes a wound. The Magifier is next to be attacked. So 4 attacks on the Magifier. We get 2 hits. They need 4s to wound. Same toughness as the priest. No wounds. And finally, against the novitiates, we have don't worry, that's a cyber dog. An Arbite is in the vicinity of my village. So let's see. We've got 8 attacks on the novitiates. As you can see there, there's 2 6s, so they're automatic wounds. But there's only 1 additional hit, so they're going to survive, I hope. Need a 4 to wound, doesn't wound. So 2 hits, 2 saves, no AP, 4s, both of them survive. So I'm hoping that these novitiates with their close combat weapons and fists will be able to take out those 2 bases. But before that, the scarabs, of course, get to hit first with 8 attacks. Let's see. Wow. Seeing my haste, the scarabs are annoyed. That's 6 hits, 2 of which are automatic wounds. So let's see how many of these wound. I need 4s. Equal strength and equal toughness. So there's 4 there. 4 saves at 4 up. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I was hoping I'd get to use a Noro whip. A Neural whip, sorry. Let's see. 2 die. So I am going to take off 2 of the novitiates because they've taken some damage. But I'm going to take from the back, I'm going to take the 2 with auto guns, because at this moment those weapons are the least effective. I'm going to use a neural whip as well as
the novitiates' melee weapons, and the other two will shoot. Or they won't shoot their pistols. They might hit them with their pistols. They might use their hands to claw off these scarabs. So the neural whip, I need a 4 to hit. It hits. It is a plus, let's see, user strength. Okay. So I'm going to need a 4 to wound. It doesn't wound. The two novitiates carrying melee weapons, so they need 4 to hit, 1 hits, and they need a 3 to wound because of the +1 strength. It wounds, but it will save on a 6. Doesn't save, so that's a wound. The two using their fists or pistols as clubs, they need 4s to hit, both hit. They need 4s to wound, neither of them wound. But they do make a nuisance of themselves, so well done. So looking across the battlefield, I'm not sure whether there is going to be any survivors from the Shrine Capital left for the rescue party to rescue, to extricate from this battlefield. Let's see what happens. Let's see how many wraiths appear, how many squads of wraiths appear in turn 2. So, as the Necron player, I want to see as many squads of wraiths as possible. And we're going to follow the same process as we did before, whereby the wraiths, yes, I know they do not slumber, but they're going to use the same gateways as the scarabs did to enter the battlefield. So as the Necron player, I want to see as many as possible. I've got my trusty D8. Let's see how many units. Let's see how many units arrive. There are going to be 6 units. Now I can field 6 units, which I'm going to do. So now I'm going to roll randomly to see which gateways they appear in. So here are the 6 units of Necrons, which I'm going to roll randomly to see where they deploy. Their deployment will very much determine the fate of the remaining novitiates. Let's see what happens. Gateway 8. Useful. So as you can see from the dice roll, already this tomb world is clearly wanting these intruders to be gone with the first deployment of the wraiths, who are obviously in striking distance of the remaining novitiates. As a Necron player, I'd love this to be another 8, but let's see. It's a 3, so well, that's even better, and I'll explain why. The next squad will be appearing through that gateway there, right next to those novitiates. So I'm going to try and deploy those live. My apologies about the table management there. You can see some dice on the board. I really don't like that. So naughty Gary. And there you are. If I were the novitiates, I'd probably retreat right now. They are facing massacre. Maybe their fate was inevitable. Maybe they should have stayed at the Shrine World rather than retreat to fight again. Maybe their sacrifice would have strengthened their God Emperor's influence on the planet rather than fighting on, making the Emperor and his dominion on this world weaker. The reason why I say that is because we know that every time a faithful servant of the Imperium dies, their warp essence strengthens the Emperor's presence in the warp. Being close to pylons stops that transcendence. So let's see where the next unit's going. Number 6. Again, the automated systems of this tomb world are thinking very logically about where to position these wraiths so they can be the most effective. They've got very much 2 choices at the moment, but that will depend where the next 3 squads deploy. Welcome to the machine, as Pink Floyd would say. So let's see where the next unit's going to deploy. In Gateway 4, again, it's another logical move. These are all live rolls, so you will see. Welcome to the machine. Wow, there you are. I will stop singing, but you can see the Necrons clearly following a logical sequence, a logical pattern, are going to exterminate these intruders. Let's see what happens for the next one. Gateway 2, not as effective this time. I'll just track back and give you a little bit more scope on that. As you can see, it would be alright if there were some novitiates alive, but the scarabs, although damaged, did a very good job. In fact, the majority of the damage caused was by them self-destructing quite a distance away. And finally, with 1 squad remaining, they're going into Gateway 4. With Gateway 4 again, the Necrons have used their cogitors to precisely deploy the rapes where they need to be. Let's get on to turn 2's movement. illustrated there, the Necrons' approach is unstoppable. They have surrounded the survivors, who have fought gallantly. And I am going to carry on playing. We are going to see which units get into combat. We are going to see whether anybody survives. And after this turn, a decision will be made whether the rescue party actually gets on the board or not. I would imagine that a forward party of Seraphim can see what's going on, but following disciplined orders, they know to sacrifice themselves at this point would be futile. They'd be much better to report back, save the strength of the sisters for another battle on a different day, and just hope that this tomb world, after these intruders are eliminated, returns to its unnatural, mechanical slumber. You might have just heard an aeroplane there. That could have been the Seraphim's jetpacks flying over this table. Getting free sound effects today is a good thing. So we're going to start with these Necrons here, these Wraiths, sorry, and they are going to try and reach the preacher there. So let's roll this live, let's see what they get. Just zoom out a little bit. Get a couple of dice, move that D8. A 5, possibly, let's see. Tape measure, only got to be within an inch. No, they're certainly not going to make it. The Scarabs will do the same. I'm going to imagine that both of those units have merged into one. Just to make it easier. Certainly not. So there is some complexity left in this game. This unit here should be able to tank the squad and the preacher. I hope so. Let's do this roll so you can see. I'm sorry about the moving camera, but I only have one. With an 8, they definitely make it. So I'll move them into combat. Those unsuccessful Wraiths, well, we did say, didn't we, that the likelihood of them reaching would be minimal. So let's just get them in. I know, there we are. To do as much damage as possible. There we go. Have some rain. Let's see. We're singing. This unit here, he's going to attack from behind, attack the Imagifier as well as the squad. So let's see what happens. They get 6 inches. Yeah, that should be enough. I hope so. Just zoom out a bit so you can see. Yeah. The Imagifier is tagged, as is the unit. But this is going to be a bloody massacre. In fact, the rain outside could be the tears of the Emperor. He knows these faithful had good intentions. He knows that they escaped the Shrine World because they wanted to fight another day. Now, I haven't interrupted combat yet, but I will be doing so after the first round of combat, because I want at least the Abbess Bridget to fight. So with a 7, they're certainly in, like so. The next squad, let's see what happens. Yep, they are in, only just with a 4. They tag that unit there. And I'm going to, I know you shouldn't move secret, but you know what? I'm going to put it there because I don't want it to be standing ugly. You know it's there. So there's plenty of fighting left. These I think they're going to be automatically in at the back there, which you probably can't see. You can now. Let's see what happens. Yes, with an 8, they are in. There's also a remaining. There's also a remaining unit of scarabs at the back here that didn't make combat before. Remember, they got a double 1, so they are now in with a 4. Just so they're going to surround these. So as you can see, there are going to be lots of bloody screams, lots of death howls, but to the Canotep or Canoptech, the Canoptech constructs, they're meaningless. It causes them no distress or pleasure, I would imagine. So we're going to start with this unit here. This one, just here. We're going to have one of the wraiths attack the preacher, and the other 2 are going to attack the unit. So let's see what happens. Okay, the wraith with its vicious claws gets 4 attacks. It hits with all 4 of them. Even the BBC have just notified me of that news. The preacher is going to be dead shortly. Okay, well, the preacher is dead on the BBC. So let's see what happens. They are hitting on +2 strength, so they need 2s. That's all of them. So that's 8 damage, which I cannot save or shrug. The preacher is dead. Her essence doesn't strengthen her god, Emperor. The remaining two wraiths at the unit. This could be overkill, but you never know. Having to hit on 4s, possibility some will not hit. Okay, so average then, 50%. Needing 2s. All of them except 1. So that's a further 3 of the faithful dead from that first unit. The 4 attacks on the magnifier. All hit. 2s to wound. So we roll that one. So that's 6 damage. The magnifier is now dead. Then we have 8 attacks on the remaining sister, novitiate. Let's see. So Abbess Bridget is going to interrupt to try and do some damage on these wraiths before her inevitable end. 2s to hit. 3 hits. Strength 5, toughness 5, she's going to need 4s. All wounds. 4 up invulnerables. Wow. Did she repent her sins? So Abbess Bridget has taken 2 of the wraiths out of the battle. There is still one left to fight the unit that she gallantly protected in her turn. And then we'll see if she survives the remaining wraith attack. So as you can see, despite the wraiths taking damage, there's still a squad left to finish off Abbess Bridget and the novitiates. And then we'll move on to this combat here. Hits 3 times. So 2's to wound, sorry. 2's to wound. 4 up because of Armour of Contempt, kind of knocks out the Rosarius. Flaw in the system, I think. And she fails all 3 rolls, and unfortunately, you could even say, inevitably, she dies. And I'm going to say, with her dead, the faithful who have put up a gallant fight at each pylon die. But what happens next? Will this tomb world continue to awaken, or will it bide its time and wait to see whether the demons of Slaanesh or the Daughters of Charity win their war, and with their superior numbers then strike to retake their home world? To fight a war on 2 fronts against 2 enemies seems an illogical course of action, considering how this tomb has responded to today's threat. I think they will wait and see the outcome of the battles to come against the Slaanesh demons and the Daughters of Charity who are trying to reclaim this shrine world, and then strike when their opponents are at their weakest after a long, protracted war. The sun will set on this tomb world with the knowledge that with time they will be masters again